Okay, confession time. I really love the Yoshimura AT2 exhaust on the ZX4RR, and UK people, I said Z for y'all, so give me a like. Come on, give me a thumbs up. But I really like it. It's a nice exhaust. It really booms at idle, and it really just sings to you when you rev it up to 15,000 RPM. But the problem is, I have neighbors. Afraid a lot of us have neighbors, and they don't really enjoy it. Now, they haven't said anything yet. I'm sure I'm only one, visit from the local constable away from a noise citation or something to that effect. But, the houses next to me are probably not more than 150 feet from my driveway, like to the next house. It includes my house, so they're just too close. When I'm around houses, I thought I could use a dB killer. So, a sound insert. If you're Yoshimura, they call these sound inserts. And like a dB killer, you stick it in the back of the exhaust and away you go. But this is the INS-20-K. Now, I tried to Google this dB killer for the AT2 exhaust on the ZX4R or RR, and had no luck. So I did what us older people would do, kids. I used a telephone, and it was a mobile phone. It wasn't one of those rotary dial things. But I called somebody at Yoshimura. I got a real human in America, thank God. Not against non-Americans, just the language barrier is easier. My Southern accent is really hard for some people that aren't from the United States to understand, and frankly, really hard for some of my neighbors to understand at times. But anyway, I asked a really nice sounding young woman, which sound insert do I need? And she said, well, there's two. One of them is the 20K and the other one is the 27K. And according to her notes, I don't think she had heard one personally, the 20K was the better all-arounder and would reduce the output of the exhaust at both idle and up the rev range. And I believe she said the 27K reduced the output of the exhaust more at idle and less up the rev range, which was not what I wanted. I mean, I want to hear the bike just a little bit less in both situations, revving it, riding it, and letting it idle. I just don't want it to be as bad for them. And if I happen to be riding in town, I live in kind of a third-tier town, kind of a, I don't know, maybe 60,000 people. But if I'm riding in town, maybe I could ride without earplugs, just using the natural attenuation of the Schubert S3 that I ride with these days. And I could just have, this. And still enjoy my exhaust and not annoy the living bejesus out of everybody around me. All right, I'm gonna go outside, put this in the back of the exhaust, fasten whatever that is bouncing around in here, and I'm gonna let the motorcycle warm up before I do any sound measurements or recordings. So once the bike is warmed up, last time we registered around 90 dB at idle. You can check that out in this video. I'm hoping that will be a little less, but I'm more interested in the 8,000 RPM rev blip that I also did in that video. That registered last time at 106 dB. I'm hoping that's gonna come down to say 100. If it did, that would be a significant reduction in volume, about 2 orders of magnitude less than what it is now. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not real familiar with logarithmic scales. I'll let y'all Google that. So without further ado, let's get to it. All right, y'all. I ran into a couple of problems. So when I tried to put the dB killer into the pipe, the little nut that secures it, it fell down into the end cap here. The reason is, I don't know if you guys can see this, but there's a big space that you have to insert this through, and every time I tried to stick the nut in there, it would inevitably fall down in the end cap. The nut just wasn't long enough to thread before falling in. So what I ended up doing was positioning this where I could see the threads through the hole, and then I held the can like this, basically with the hole for the nut facing down, and then I took the nut and put it on the end of here and then just basically pushed it up into the hole and threaded it like that. Obviously not holding it for the camera, but you get what I'm saying. So that way the nut would stay on the end of the Allen key as I pushed it into the thread. So now we've got a lot of fingerprints all over this thing. We're gonna have to clean it, but we've got this done. I'm going to reinstall it on the ZX4R, double R in this case, and clean it up, and we'll be good to go. By the way, I get obviously nothing for this, but bike spirits. Really good for cleaning metal stuff on your bike and getting bug guts off of things. Not the biggest fan of using it on paint because it kind of leaves this residue, kind of this greasiness. But if you have something stubborn, this is fantastic. Let me show you guys one more thing that's pretty sick. I took off the passenger peg hanger here and put this racing hook thing. I'm just going to use it like a tie down point when I put things up here on the tail of the bike. But man, this looks sick with this open. You can just see the shock, and you can see the whole swing arm extend out behind the bike. I really love it. It's a nice mod. And I've got another exhaust hanger coming for the other side of the bike from Evotech. Should be here tomorrow, along with a couple other bits and bobs. More on that later. All right, so change of plan. I had originally intended to test the exhaust the night that I put it on, but I decided to wait until I could get the bike away from the neighborhood and test it out where it wouldn't bother anybody. So here we go. So I don't know about y'all, but I think the ZX4RR with the Yoshi Slip On sounds better with the sound insert than without it. The sound insert seems to just reduce the inner diameter of the slip-on. Maybe there's something else going on. If so, let me know. But I believe that's why you get less bass fundamentals and less boom out of that exhaust at idle. Also, I think there's a bit more back pressure, and my butt dyno seems to prefer the way the bike feels with the sound insert. It seems to actually have more torque, which is incredibly important on the ZX4RR because it doesn't have any torque to spare, y'all. It's like the torqueless wonder. So that's it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the way the slip-on sounds with the sound insert. If you have any questions about it, let me know as well. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. And until next time, y'all, keep it shiny side up and ride safe.